Is there a difference between hearing someone and listening to someone? What are your thoughts? If you said yes, then you are correct because there is a huge difference between hearing someone and listening to what it is they are saying. Um, the object of me hearing you is the fact that I hear a sound and I actively perceive sound by ear. If I am listening to you, that is something that I am choosing to do, which requires me to concentrate in order to process words into sentences. So, listening is a learned skill that can also lead to learning. So, coming up, I used to always hear my parents or someone say, they're just hard of hearing. But in actuality, because the difference in listening and hearing, more people tend to be hard of listening rather than hard of hearing. Listening requires the use of your ears because you are perceiving sound, whereas um, hearing actually uses your eyes, your attention, your heart, and your ears. Listening is active, and there are ways to promote better listening while we are communicating because listening is a form of communication. Um, and to promote better listening, a person has to have the desire to listen, needs to focus on the message that the person is trying to send, listening to their ideas, and actually understanding what it is they're trying to say. And in doing that, they also have to not use judgment, reinforce those messages, and provide feedback so that they understand what the other person is actually trying to say when they are talking to them. So, with listening comes communication, and the most powerful form of communication is our nonverbal communication because it is our most honest form of communication. Um, Nonverbal is more of your body language versus what you say. When people communicate, they often look at the nonverbal communication because it helps them to pretty much perceive you based on what they see and experience and feel when communicating with you. The key to effectively communicating would be to ensure that both your verbal communication and your nonverbal communication were aligned. And so we'll talk about 5 ways to do that. The important thing first is to know uh, what your nonverbal communication is saying about you. Um, is your communication for you or against you? And figuring out how to fix your nonverbal communication if it is detrimental. So, the first thing or step to take to ensure effective communication will be making sure that your facial expressions and your eye contact match what it is you're saying. Eye to eye contact is the most intimate form of communication and is important when you are trying to get people to listen to you and understand what it is you're saying. The next technique would be your body stance or your posture because this is important for showing confidence in what it is you're saying and in getting people to again listen and understand you and what you are trying to communicate. An example of that would be slouching or having your arms crossed, which would basically symbolize an indifference to, what someone is saying to you or how you feel about a certain topic. The next technique would be to ensure that your gestures, well, a lot of people use their hands when they're talking, so just making sure that those gestures that you are using, you're aware of, and you don't overuse them too much, because it can be distracting to what you're trying to say. The next thing that is important in effective communication would be to make sure that you're aware of your movement. Are you in a hurry? Do you feel well? Do you sound interested in what the other person is saying, or do you even sound interested in what you're saying? Really makes a difference in, getting people to listen. Lastly, silence. Silence is extremely important in communication, and it is a form of nonverbal communication. However, silence can also be the difference in letting someone know that you're actually listening and actively listening to them. So allowing someone to talk and not saying anything, not trying to overpower them, not trying to use up words to continue a conversation can be just as important as using words in a conversation. So all those things, listening, hearing, and the techniques for effective communication are important for face-to-face communication. But then there comes now technology. How do we effectively communicate on technology when we're using the media, internet, phone, computer? So when we think of technology, one of the things I think about is email etiquette. Often my mom will talk about how she sends emails and will get upset if someone sends an email with words all capitalized because it makes her feel like they are yelling. So some things to kind of mediate technological communication with email would be to know when it's appropriate to send an email versus a phone call or an in-person meeting, because sometimes that can be the difference in how people respond. Being polite, saying thank you and I'm sorry or please, and replying to not the whole group. Sometimes there's emails where it's sent to everybody, but then the reply only needs to be to one person. Making sure that your spell check is available, or you have somebody check your spelling and grammar. And like I said, be aware of your tone in your email. Always using punctuation, and stay away from using emojis and emoticons when you are sending emails, especially if it's a professional type email. And never use email to reward somebody with something, reprimand somebody for something, fire somebody, anything like that. That's unprofessional.